Why did she cover up Nolan Wells' case? Not only Nolan Wells, actually it's a couple other brothers she covered up. She deemed it not foul play, or she didn't suspect foul play. Who am I speaking about? I'm speaking about the medical examiner, Staci Turner. And today, what we'll be going over is a video explaining her history. Because throughout all of the Nolan Wells talk, our people need to be familiarized with her. She also needs to be exposed for how she conduct her business. Let's get into it, y'all.
So just some quick background so you know who we're talking about. Dr. Staci Turner is a board-certified forensic pathologist. She earned her medical degree from the University of Kentucky and did her pathology training there. She finished a forensic pathology fellowship at the Southern Institute of Forensic Sciences in Dallas, Texas. Before Mississippi, she worked as a regional deputy chief medical examiner for the Alabama Department of Forensic Sciences, as an assistant medical examiner at a private practice in Nashville, Tennessee, and as a medical examiner in Dallas. She joined Mississippi State Medical Examiner's Office in January of 2020 as the first full-time pathologist in the southern part of the state. She became interim chief medical examiner in January of 2021, and the job was made permanent in November of 2021. She was the first woman to hold the role. As of July 2026, she still holds it. Here's the thing about that job. In Mississippi, the state medical examiner's office decides the cause and manner of death for the serious cases. Cases like homicides, self-deletes, accidents, deaths in police custody. And that office lives under the Mississippi Department of Public Safety. That's the same umbrella as the state's law enforcement. Hold on to that detail. But enough about Staci for now.
Y'all heard that. Hold on to that detail. I'm gonna rewind it so y'all can remember what he just said. Gotta connect this.
For the serious cases. Cases like homicides, self-deletes, accidents, deaths in police custody. And that office lives under the Mississippi Department of Public Safety. That's the same umbrella as the state's law enforcement.
Same umbrella as the state's law enforcement. Y'all should know where he going with this. Check it out.
That detail. But enough about Staci for now. On July 26th, 2021, in the small town of Braxton in Rankin County, sheriff's deputies came out on a vandalism call. A neighbor said 29-year-old Damian Cameron had punched a wall. During the arrest, deputies used tasers on him more than once. Witnesses said a deputy knelt on him. His mother, Monica Lee, says one deputy knelt on her son's back for 15 to 20 minutes while he said he couldn't breathe. He was taken to the University of Mississippi Medical Center and was pronounced dead that day. But here's the thing about that though. The deputies came from the same Rankin County Sheriff's Department that later produced the so-called Goon Squad. In January of 2023, a group of Rankin County deputies who called themselves the Goon Squad tortured two black men, Michael Corey Jenkins and Eddie Terrell Parker, during an illegal warrantless raid. 6 officers pled guilty. One of them, Hunter Elward, who was involved in Damian Cameron's 2021 arrest, was sentenced on March 19, 2024 to 241 months, about 20 years and 1 month, the maximum under his plea deal. The judge, U.S. District Judge Tom Lee, called the conduct egregious and despicable. In September of 2024, the U.S. Justice Department opened a civil rights investigation into the whole department. So when Damian Cameron's family looks at who was in that yard, they see the same department that was later exposed for racial violence. Dr. Staci Turner performed the autopsy. She ruled the cause of death undetermined. In her report, she wrote,
"Sounds familiar? Here it is. This dude done pled guilty. Everybody know what's going on. But this damn witch gonna sit up there and say it's undetermined."
That due to a lack of access to information about the circumstances of the death, the cause and manner were best classified as undetermined. She has defended that kind of call, telling reporters her office errs on the side of undetermined because they don't want to make a mistake. Well, you made a mistake. A Rankin County grand jury then declined to indict the deputies, relying on Staci Turner's finding. And we know how that works. You rule undetermined, And now your buddies get to go free, right? And remember, they're all under that public safety umbrella. But I'm not done yet, because several independent autopsies would prove that she lied. In 2023, the New York Times and Mississippi Today asked 3 independent forensic pathologists to review Cameron's autopsy photos, hospital records, sheriff's reports, and witness statements. All 3 concluded it should have been ruled a homicide. Dr. Michael Baden, a former New York City chief medical examiner.
Y'all know him. This face right here is familiar growing up. Y'all know him.
Who testified in the O.J. Simpson trial and performed an independent autopsy for George Floyd's family, said Cameron's death was a homicide. Absolutely. This person died of asphyxia because of neck compression. Dr. Zhang Shui Hu, chief of the Forensic Pathology Division at Rutgers University, said, "That's really nothing to be undetermined about. It was a homicide." Staci Turner's own autopsy documented internal bleeding in Cameron's neck and severe facial swelling and trauma. The injury pattern those outside experts say points to someone pressing on his neck. Still, she said his cause of death was undetermined. Damian Cameron's family sued. A judge first threw the case out on immunity grounds. So we got to get rid of all that immunity stuff. But the Mississippi Court of Appeals revived the lawsuit, finding there were genuine questions about whether the deputies' actions were reasonable. That case is still alive. Stay with me now, because you're going to notice a pattern here. This cat in the hat face looking at Staci Turner is on some BS.
So I want somebody to figure out how to do petitions. She got to get up out of here, bro. She is not real. Why do she still have a job? Why?
Shannon Wilson was 13 years old, a D'Iberville middle school student. On May 8th, 2022, he was in the water with some friends near Old Highway 15 in Harrison County, along a river and a creek. Friends said they saw him struggling in the water. He was pulled out, taken to a hospital, and passed away. The Harrison County Coroner's Office ruled it an accidental drowning, and that was done immediately. This is before an autopsy was even completed, by the way. Any investigation was completed, they ruled it an accidental drowning. Shannon Wilson's family disputes the drowning ruling. They say his friends, several white youths, threw him into the water. They've also accused officials of mishandling his body because he was actually embalmed without their consent, which destroyed crucial evidence. Wilson's death was ruled an accidental drowning, but reports say that determination was made without a full autopsy. Corey Howard was 36. His family described him as a father and an entrepreneur. The local tattoo artist everybody knew. Just before 1 a.m. on January 8th of 2022, a Moss Point police officer tried to pull him over for speeding. The driver didn't stop. Police chased the car near Magnolia and House Streets. The driver jumped out and ran into a marsh. Officers say they lost him and called off the search. Now, the thing that stands out to me in this case is the fact that he had a passenger in the car with him that didn't run away. And after the police chased Corey into the marsh, that passenger says they just got in their police car and left. They didn't come search the vehicle. They didn't come to talk to him, get a statement, ask any questions. It's like the police were running away from a crime scene here. Howard was reported missing by his family days later. On January 13th, after his own family and friends searched the area and turned up a jacket and a wallet they believed were his, police finally returned and found his body in the marsh grass off House Street. I wonder how they found that immediately, probably because they put him there. Howard's family and friends took to social media demanding answers, angry that police chased him into the swamp and then, they say, couldn't find his body for 5 days. Neighbors who were there said investigators never even interviewed them. They didn't interview anyone, probably because they knew what happened.
That sound familiar? Not interviewing nobody. Pull these people in the interrogation room to get to the bottom of what's going on.
And didn't want it coming out. That's my guess. But again, Staci Turner's autopsy report ruled out homicide, but did not determine the cause or manner of death. Just undetermined as always. No investigation, just another accident. And the boys in blue were free to prey on the community.
Hell no, man. We gotta get her ass up out of here,
DeMar
bro.
Travion Trey Reed was 21, a student at Delta State University in Cleveland, Mississippi, originally from Grenada. On the morning of Monday, September 15th of 2025, a faculty member found his body hanging from a tree near the campus pickleball courts. A black man found hanging from a tree in Mississippi carries the weight of the state's entire history of lynchings. Family members and pretty much everybody with a brain say they believe Reed was lynched. According to the family's attorney, Vanessa Jones, the Grenada County Sheriff's Department first showed up at the family's home around 9:15 a.m. and told them Trey was found dead in his dorm room in his bed. His grandfather, J.B. Reed, said a sheriff's official flatly called it a self-delete right away, no investigation. He didn't even say possible self-delete, he said it was confirmed self-delete. Then the family learned, they say from the news, that he was actually found hanging from a tree in the center of campus. The family says the media knew about Trey's death before they did. That's the kind of thing that destroys trust before an autopsy is even finished, because why are the cops immediately ruling it a self-delete? When I hear that, my mind goes to, okay, what are you trying to cover up? What are you not telling me? Delta State's public safety director said at a September 17th press conference that he had no knowledge of those calls, but confirmed investigators had video evidence connected to the case. The family has been asking for that surveillance footage to be released to the public. It hasn't. The Bolivar County coroner did the initial exam and found no lacerations, broken bones, or injuries consistent with an assault. The Mississippi State Medical Examiner's Office then conducted an autopsy and confirmed the cause of death as hanging and the manner as self-delete. Chief Medical Examiner Staci Turner is named as having confirmed those findings. The family hired nationally known attorney Ben Crump and attorney Vanessa Jones and got an independent autopsy. And as of now, the independent autopsy results have not been publicly released, so we can't technically say the second autopsy contradicted the first. We can only say the family disputes that ruling. The early accounts didn't match, and the full results are still not public.
Bruh. Do y'all see what the hell is going on? This is too many situations where she's getting away with saying that it's undetermined. How the hell he gonna sit up there and unalive himself in the middle of campus, bruh? This don't make no sense. And they look at all of us the same, bruh. They say he's Grenadian from Grenada. They don't give a damn about that shit. This is why we gotta stick together, bro.
Nolan Xavier Wells was 18, a wide receiver at Southwest Mississippi Community College. On the 4th of July in 2026, he went with friends by boat to Horn Island, a remote barrier island off the Mississippi Gulf Coast with no shelters, no restrooms, and no cell service. His friends made it back to the mainland. Nolan did not, and on July 6th, a National Park Service agent found his body face down in the water off the northwestern shore of the island. This case went national fast. Photos surfaced showing Nolan Wells, who was black with white friends in the hours before he died. Somehow Nolan's phone made it back safely and he didn't. One friend said Nolan's chose to stay behind on the island to talk to a girl. Another friend, Warren Hudson, said on a Coon podcast with Officer Coonham that their boat started taking on water. It was an emergency, and Nolan decided to stay on that island. And there was actually audio released of that emergency phone call where they actually were able to bring up the background noise and hear that conversation, and it sounds pretty damning. It sounds like his friends had something to do with it. But the girl that Nolan was allegedly talking to, that he stayed behind for, said that they were just talking in passing. He didn't stay behind with her. He went with his friends. And like I mentioned, that audio came out and it's pretty damning. I think it really implicates his friends as having something to do with this crime. And of course, their parents, rich and powerful people. You're talking about children of judges and powerful people in this community. So they're doing everything in their power to cover it up. It actually reminds me of that Murdoch trial, or that, what's that TV show with Bryan Cranston, Your Honor? It reminds me of that, where these people in these positions of high power are doing anything they can to get their children off the hook and trying to cover it up so they're not held accountable for their actions. And now I covered this particular case when I first heard about it, and so has everyone else right now on the internet, so I won't go too deep in the woods here. But like all these cases I've already mentioned.
But they saying that this is Tristan. Tristan came out and said it was him. I don't know if them people pulled him to the side and said, look, you need to come out and say you was arguing or what. But we need to know who he was arguing with, whether it was Nolan or Tristan. Why aren't these people coming out saying, yeah, it was me who took his phone. It was me he was yelling at saying, give me my effing phone back. Where the hell these people at? Don't make no sense, bro.
This is very disturbing, very sick. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office and coroner initially said it looked like an accidental drowning with no signs of foul play. The coroner, Bruce Lind, said there were no obvious signs of trauma, but asked the state to do a full autopsy specifically to check for foul play. The state medical examiner's office, Staci Turner's office, performed the official autopsy on July 7th of 2026. As of late July 2026, those state results are still not public, pending toxicology. But why not release what you have? The official said its autopsy was performed in accordance with the standard procedures and protocols followed for all autopsies. Said it would not comment on the independent autopsy. But what did that independent autopsy say? Well, let's talk about it. An independent autopsy conducted on July 10th was performed by Dr. Roger Mitchell, a former chief medical examiner of Washington, D.C., and current president of the National Medical Association. Mitchell listed both the cause and manner of death as undetermined, pending investigation.
Now, he had a right to say it was undetermined. Say he's the damn president of it. He looks like he'd do his job. You know what I'm saying? When you look at Staci Turner, she looked like she been drinking. There's a movie with Denzel Washington. He's a police officer along with another police officer, and they were trying to catch this guy who was doing unalivings. They could not catch him. They unalived him and then went into the medical examiner office and said, look, I need this favor. That shows you, look, art imitates life. The police gets favors from the medical examiners, bro. I think about that movie every time. I forget the name of it, but yeah, bro right here, they say he did an amazing job with what he had. He didn't have the throat, didn't have the organs, didn't have the lungs. He has an excuse to say undetermined. Her, Staci Turner, don't.
He found an area of red discoloration in the soft tissue at the back of Nolan's head and said it could be from a blunt force injury. Crucially, Mitchell said he could not fully examine the airway and lungs because the state medical examiner had already removed organs and throat and neck structures during the first autopsy. But again, we don't know what the state's autopsy said in its findings. Are we going to see the same thing as these other cases where there's damage to the neck and all this and that? We don't have that information. But I think when you add up all the evidence that's been released publicly, it looks like foul play was involved, especially when you add that audio that was just released. It gives a lot of insight to what happened. But again, this case is ongoing and a lot of information is still coming out.
Come on, bro.
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can you all please come? We have a membership. Shut up! Shut the up!
Now, before I end this video, I want to point.
Ain't no way they was saying the bilge pump was dead, bro. For anybody running around with that excuse talking about, yeah, they was saying that the bilge pump was dead. And when you thought they were saying Nolan, they were saying no way. Man, you need to be slapped.
Point out one more thing because it might help to put everything I discussed in perspective. We have to talk about the system here. Mississippi's death investigation system has been called the worst in the country for backlogs. An Associated Press analysis found the state has operated for years in violation of national standards, with a severe backlog of autopsy reports, and its medical examiner's office has never been accredited. The National Association of Medical Examiners say 90% of autopsy reports should be returned within 60 to 90 days. In Mississippi, families have waited a year or more. Records sent to the AP in early 2022 show about 1,300 reports outstanding, some dating back to 2011. Yeah, they really ain't on their stuff here. For years, the state had only about 3 pathologists doing 500 to 600 autopsies each per year, more than double the 250 that the National Association recommends as the maximum. One national expert, Dr. James Gill, called Mississippi's delays emergency level and a disaster situation. And here's the structural piece.
There's no way that the president and all of that don't know about this. He said they are in a state of emergency.
Mississippi State Medical Examiner's Office sits inside the Department of Public Safety. I know I mentioned that before, but I feel like that's an important thing to mention again. That's the same agency umbrella as state law enforcement. So the medical examiner and the police department are all under the same agency. Now, that doesn't automatically mean there's corruption there, but I find it a little odd. Those things should be independent from one another. You should not be under the same agency, right? Because who wants to investigate their buddies and get them in trouble? Right. Forensic experts have warned for years that this setup is a problem. The National Association of Medical Examiners says the best system is one where examiners are fully independent of law enforcement, especially for deaths in police custody. Its former president, Dr. Catherine Paneri, said she'd support separating medical.
I wouldn't be surprised if somebody from law enforcement is in bed with her, literally. Coming in, look, I need hey, Staci, look. We just had to bop. I need you to go and hook this up, this paperwork. Come on, bro.
Medical examiners from law enforcement in any jurisdiction. And a survey of forensic pathologists cited by CBS's 48 Hours found that 82% of them said they had felt pressure to change death certificates. Does that make sense now?
Come on,
82%
bro.
of them said they felt pressure to change death certificates.
82% of medical examiners said they felt pressured to change death certificate. There you go. That's it.
And I bet you these were cop-related incidents. They're feeling pressure from the police to get their guys off the hook. Is it coming together? You seeing the light? So when a family in Mississippi here is undetermined in a police custody death and knows the examiner works under the same public safety umbrella as the police, you can understand the suspicion. Matter of fact, I'd say you'd be a damn fool to not be suspicious of that. And I don't even care what your background is, what race, whatever, you should be suspicious of that. But what do you all think? Now, I can't confirm there's a conspiracy here, but it really makes you think, and it isn't far-fetched given the history in Mississippi. But let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment in the comment section.
Yo, this brother did an amazing job with this video. And I feel this video did not get the recognition that it deserves. So I'm going to ask y'all, please go subscribe to this brother. I'm going to leave a link in the description. It's Strange Bar and Grill, True Crime. Make sure you hype this video to get it out there in the algorithm. Not enough people are speaking about Staci Turner because a lot of these investigations could have been complete by now. These people are backlogged. They living in the 50s and 60s. It's 2026. And John Ledbetter gonna sit up there. They're used to it. This is why he seen Nolan Wells' body and said, oh, I don't suspect any foul play. Because this is what they're used to. They didn't know that this was gonna blow up like this. We cannot let this go down, y'all. Please share, hype this video, and subscribe to both channels. I'm going to leave a link in the description. I do not feel like this video got the numbers it deserved. This needs to be pushed right here. Staci Turner needs to be exposed for her wickedness. Y'all get in the comment section, man. Y'all let me know what y'all think about Staci Turner, bro. Big Kish signing out. I'm going, y'all.